Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to JustNutz, guys. Today I'm going to show you a pretty quick, staple deck profile for FLOOWANDEREEZE. They got their new spell card in Battle of Chaos. This is a really cool deck. It's one of the newer decks that I'm happy is like not necessarily tier 1, but still a really solid option in the competitive game, being considered either a tier 2 deck or just like one of the really good rogue decks. But probably since the new support, maybe even just like borderline tier 1, but high tier 2. But it's really good. It's much more consistent than it was. You don't have to play all these weird cards to boost your consistency. You can just straight up play the deck's cards and like pots and stuff, and that will get you there with consistency, which is really sweet. So let's jump into it. It's one of those decks where it's kind of hard to get too spicy with, but you're mainly playing with tech options and potentially a couple of new extenders, which I'll mention here when we get there. But yeah, starting off with the FLOOWANDEREEZE lineup, of course, for the little boys, we got Rabina. This is by far and away the best monster in the deck. We also have triple Eaglin. This one's also really good. Double street and one toucan, and then we'll even throw the one bear statue in here as an honorary FLOOWANDEREEZE monster as well. So as far as these go, Rabina just being great to add any of the low-level wing beasts and get you an additional normal summon, insane. Eaglin getting you a high-level wing beast and an additional normal summon, insane. Stree, really good. It's more like a particular format thing, but I keep saying that, and then it's literally like format after format after format is like, I think it's just more of a thing where just modern-day Yu-Gi-Oh! Good decks play out of the hand, play on the field, and play out of the grave. It's just how it is, right? So having something that messes with the grave is just so good. DP in the format, being able to just like scrub him off the board and out of the grave, and then also being able to potentially even hit like a Celestial Engrave in the grind to be able to kick your opponent off the draw too can be really good. And then Toucan, you got to play one of this guy. He just comes up super clutch in certain situations to get a FLOOWANDEREEZE card from your banish pile back to the hand. And then we all know how good Bear's Statue of the Stormwinds is. Like, putting your opponent in a sticky spot with this card can just win you the game. Like, this card, you have to play it because you're just going to win free games because of this card. And it's not even like a total brick, especially with the new card that lets us use it as kind of like a consistency piece. For the high-level monsters, I know this is kind of a little bit debatable, but I'm just running the 3, 1 Empen, 1 Ryza, 1 Avian. This is super standard, except most people play double Empen, and I totally get that. I definitely have thought about it. I'm definitely on the fence about it. I'm not 100% totally sold on Empen at 1, but if you draw him, like, you still can get to him. Like, you can just also load up another one in hand. With the Eaglin effect. So it's fine. It's not the end of the world if you ever draw any of these, usually, unless it's like a really weird hand where you only see exactly one of these and the quick play spell, and you just have to banish them. It just is what it is. You have to banish them, or like, what are you even doing? You're not doing anything with your play. So, yeah, I still think it's pretty good. Other than like really awkward hands, this ratio doesn't usually burn you, or maybe like really weird grinds. But yeah, just insanely good. Like, this card being a floodgate as well as searching you any of your spells and traps, really strong. Ryza being essentially able to like remove 3 cards from the field. It's just so strong, especially since you can stack your opponent's the top of your opponent's deck, so now they're like drawing a card that's like suboptimal too. Just so insane. And then Avian being a negate is really good because like decks that set up interruption that aren't negates can just lose to specific like power cards, board wipes, that kind of stuff. So having access to Apex Avian can be super clutch for those situations. Then we move to the rest of the monsters, which is just a couple of hand traps here. Triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I don't think I really need to explain that one. Triple copies of Dimension Shifter. That also has kind of become a staple in this deck. And 1 copy of the Dizzle Crow. Yeah, I mean, just really strong. Ash just seems really solid in this format. It seems like we have a lot more mid-range stuff, not a ton of like crazy wombo combo decks. You know, Drytron's not running around where you feel like an Ash is just so underpowered if they have a good hand. There's a lot of decks that like play a lot of extenders that can play through Ash, but particularly right now, with like the Brave Engine running around, at least being able to like keep their Brave Engine offline for a turn can be so huge, especially just keeping that Omni Negate at bay, because this deck really can struggle against Omni Negates. It actually can be a super pain to play through because it's not like Book of Moon helps you dodge it. The quick play doesn't help you dodge it. It can become a little bit of a nuisance there. But yeah, Ash just overall really good, really flexible, hitting everything in the game. Shifter just seems so good. Same reasoning when I was talking about Spree, how like I used to say, oh, this format's pretty graveyard centric. Like, no, I just think that's a Yu-Gi-Oh thing now. Like, if you like when Konami's making good decks, they're specifically looking at like, yeah, like, can we give them extra value in the graveyard? That's usually what it comes down to. That's what makes decks like over the top there. And then of course DD Crow, just by the way, a really good hand trap in the format. You could play more of this if you wanted, and I wouldn't blame you. But it's another wing beast that you could draw with the quick play spell, so it actually kind of helps consistency a little bit. But also, Rabina can search this. So if you open like Rabina plus Eaglin, you can just straight up search this, and then like the Eaglin can take care of getting you the big monster because you already have it. You don't need to search the Eaglin in that situation. There's other situations where like you could easily in that scenario go for the barrier statue, depending on what the rest of your hand looks like. But if you don't have like the additional normal summon, then sometimes DD Crow is just even safer. Just set up like a floodgate plus a DD Crow can be really annoying for your opponent. So yeah, but I like Dimension Shifter. By the way, one other thing is this card actually plays pretty well with or against the Brave token stuff. It means when they pitch the equip spell, they don't get the equip spell back. You can send this way before they even have to, way before they even get to the negate. And even if they can set up one negate, you're taking away some of their follow-up, as well as taking away their ability to load up their graveyard after that. So they may not have a play after they get the negate, and all you have to do is beat the negate, and you can scoop up the dub pretty easily. So that's the rest of the monsters in the main. Moving into the spell cards, I'm on triple copies of the field spell, triple copies of the new quick play, and 1 copy of the continuous. As far as the quick play goes, if you don't know how it works, it's kind of like a searcher. You banish a winged beast from your hand or face-up field to add a FLOOWANDEREEZE monster or field spell from deck to hand, then gain 500 life points. The life points is just a bonus, potentially could save you in time. But most of the time you're just either searching Rabina because you need a play starter, or you're searching the field spell, which is like an extender. Just it makes it so you're chain blocking things, it makes it so you're beating one interruption almost every time. And it's just really strong. So definitely cool to consider this card. There's also a ton of really cool interactions. Like you can normal summon one of your monsters, use its effect to like search, and like obviously activate one that's banished potentially to get it back to hand. Then you can chain this. You're already going to get a search and an additional normal summon. So now you can like activate this and like search a different one to get the additional normal summons for. It's pretty cool. So just definitely practice up on like the different kinds of ways you can interact with your own deck with this card, because it can also help you dodge stuff like Imperm, Veiler, all that stuff. Really good. Almost acts like additional Book of Moons, or potentially even replaces Book of Moon in your list, which helped you dodge hand traps before. We already know the field spell. This card's insanely good for chain blocking stuff. You can banish a FLOOWANDEREEZE card from your deck, which then automatically like sets you up to like chain block your plays, while also getting that card back to hand for an additional normal later on, and then it gives you additional normal really strong. And then this card being able to let you tribute your opponent's stuff, even their spells and traps, just insanely good. If you get this card set up in the grind, a lot of times like it's just too much. It's too overwhelming to have that many cards being removed from your opponent every turn, yours and theirs, as well as like potentially getting a Ryza in rotation. It's just too incredibly strong. But I decided not to play Terraforming here. You definitely could. I feel like the consistency is already at a really good place, but if you want to be super safe, definitely cut anything, cut the DD Crow, cut something else random just to go ahead and swap it for the Terraforming, just to bump up your ability to see the field spell just a little bit more, even though now we technically already have 6 copies as opposed to 4 that we had before. So yeah, felt pretty safe there. As far as the pots go, we're on triple copies of Duality, triple copies of Extravagance. Don't really need to explain these too much. I guess the Extravagance I could talk about. This is staple. I know some people only like 2 here, but it's just insane. I feel like any deck that doesn't special summon, you should probably just be playing 3 Duality, because it doesn't conflict with Extravagance or Prosperity. It's just awesome like that. And then Extravagance. So like the argument is like Extravagance or Prosperity. What do you like? I like Prosperity, right? Being able to like, if you don't have a hand with Rabina, go for it. But like, it just feels like with the new quick play spell, like the deck is already so much more consistent now than it was before. You're just adding like an extra 1/3 chance of seeing a card that like almost guarantees you Rabina, and that's like so good. So I felt like Extravagance felt like really good, just being able to get you that harder plus. Now maybe there's an argument that just like you say screw it, like I get it, Prosperity is not a +1, but God damn it, it does just guarantee me like almost the exact card I'm looking for most of the time, or at least something that's like passable. So I definitely understand the argument there, but I think for now I'm just gonna rock with the extravagances just for that like harder plus. There's also the argument that like you're playing 3 to 4 of these guys and you don't want to draw them ever. So like, yeah, you'd rather be searching them out always. They're not like dead, like you don't lose if you draw them, but it is annoying. Okay, quick play spells. I'm still on 2 Book of Moon and 1 Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave, like Ash, just annoying to this deck. Like other hand traps can be annoying. Potentially even Ogre, which is seeing a little more play, or Veiler, stuff like that. You know, Called is just really utility, like covers everything. It's DPE, which can be annoying in the grind for this deck. Like, it's honestly like pretty good. And then Book of Moon, just helping you dodge stuff, but just the utility of this card. Going second, it baits out the Griffin Rider. Going first, it helps you dodge Imperm or Veiler, right? Like, honestly, it's just really good. I don't really need to explain much more. This card's just so utility, has so much utility in this deck. I'm only playing 2 of it though, not going fully in on it because we also have the new quick play, which allows us to like I said, use weird interactions to go normal summon, use its effect, then dodge any of those kinds of interruptions your opponent might have anyway, and like still get, you know, where you want to be. 1 copy of Dimension Fisher. This is probably the 1 card I would drop if you were going to like put Terraforming in or any other one of. But it's just so good. Like the deck wants to banish its monsters anyway, so this card is just incredibly strong at just like activating it. It even turns off certain hand traps when you're going first if you just activate this first. And then just start doing your plays, and just some decks just can't beat this. So I'd probably play this in the main and like side Macrocosmos or something, because like so many decks just can't beat that. So like pairing the triple shifter with this and macro is just too insane. Like honestly, it's really, really good. Then the last cards in the deck are the traps. 1 Dreaming Town, don't need to explain this too much. Additional normal summon on the opponent's turn. Crazy strong to go into Rise on their turn, into Avian for a negate on their turn, or into M-Pen to get another search, or as well as like the Floodgate effect is really good no matter how you look at it. Just really strong, and then also getting that Book of Moon effect in Grave can be so strong as well. It's not even Book of Moon, it's UCT. Flip all of their monsters down. It's just so strong. And the last 2 cards, 2 Imperm. So pairing this with the other 7 hand traps we have, that's 9 hand traps with the 2 Book of Moon, you know, with Dimension Shift, Fisher, with the Called. Like there's a ton of utility slots in this deck, so feel free to mess around with that. Definitely play personal preference or what you think for the format, like what's really going to counter the format better than anything else. I feel like Imperm's okay in the format, but again, like the Brave stuff, like this is the worst hand trap we have in our deck versus the Brave stuff. So, you know, definitely don't want to be caught with your pants down. But I guess worst case scenario, this at least baits the Griffin Rider going into their turn. So it is what it is. Like, well, that's fine, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck. I mean, as far as the extra goes, like I didn't even put one together here. Like, listen, guys, you can play whatever you want. You know, you could play the Cyber Dragon or the Chimera Tech Fortress or Mega Fleet, just because if you end up in that matchup, that can just be a free card to use. If your opponent's playing Maximus stuff, you could be playing like the Cyber Dragon Nova into Makaba play, or Intises to get them to pop them as well. Like, literally whatever you want. You can make use of in the extra deck here. Whatever's just like free, maybe even a small Zeus package for rank 1s. And not that you're ever going to plan to use it, but like there could be a really, really specific weird situation where it could come up. But other than that, like whatever, you know, like honestly, it's like never going to come up. But yeah, the deck's really cool. I really like the way it plays. It's just, I don't know. It's just good. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a pretty simple deck profile, though. It is one of those decks where, as far as the core goes, there's not a ton of stuff you can do off base, but there also is the other Simorg monster that just came out in the new set that actually, like, additional normal summons himself when any winged beast is summoned. So that card's actually really interesting as well, just getting you additional normal summon, and then can search the field spell for those Simorgs, which gives you an additional normal and lowers the level of a winged beast. So maybe that's something to look at. Maybe play like 2 or 3 copies of him with the copy of the field spell, and then maybe you play Terraforming again too, because you have like at least the versatility of getting either field spell off of it, which could be pretty cool. So I don't know, just different stuff to look into. I guess there is a little bit of wiggle room here, but for the most part, like a lot of stuff is going to stay the same for this deck. It just is what it is. It's good at what it does, and it just like, you just can't really play a ton of specific stuff in here, just some generic stuff. But it does what it does really well, so you can't complain. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me down the line. And I'll catch you in the next deck profile. Peace.